JF Stretford, Paddock, this is a live review. Manchester United not going out, losing the Europa League final on penalties. I think it ended up, was it 11-10 in the end on penalties after a 1-1 draw during the first 90 minutes and extra time. Joe Smith is with me. Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. You might not have liked that result, but, like the video. Joe, I didn't watch the penalties. I was sort of in and out of the room and watching your reaction to them because I don't really like watching penalties. But, I mean, it wasn't penalties, though, was it, that cost us that game?
Well, no. I mean, in the end it was, obviously. But once you're down to the point of relying on David De Gea to score a penalty to keep you in a competition, you could say things have gone wrong before that point.
Yeah, massively.
First 10 minutes, United came out and looked great. I thought, we're on for it here because we looked sharp. We came after them. We pressed really high. We won the ball back in their half consistently over and over and over again. And then they scored. Yeah. It was like we had all the ball. We had, there wasn't a lot of chances, but we had the possession. We controlled the game, and then they scored. And then they sat back and we struggled to break them down. And then obviously second half, they sort of sat back again. We got the goal, but then one of the annoying things, and we'll get through all of it obviously because I'm still kind of digesting what we've just seen. I'm struggling to take it all in at the minute, if I'm honest with you.
Sorry, mate.
One of the annoying things is,
do you know what I mean? I know it's devastating.
When they scored, or when we scored, we then sat back. And one of the key things that we've done this season under Ole, in all of these games, we've come from behind to win. One of the key things we've done is we're behind, we get the goal, and we push on. And we didn't do that. And that was the most disappointing thing for me. We just went, well, we've scored now, let's go back to how it was at 0-0.
Yeah.
Usually you want the momentum of the goal to keep pushing you forward, and we didn't let that happen. We didn't force that into happening. And by the end, the whole 30 minutes of extra time was us letting them play the ball around. I mean, we can talk about the Rashford miss, we can talk about some of the performances or lack thereof from United players tonight, but just the whole mindset of the team, we looked nervous. I thought we did look scared. When it got to, a position where we could win it, we looked nervous, and they didn't. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's a manager thing or if that's a players thing, a personnel thing. But when we were in a position to go, right, go on, push on and win this, we looked scared. And when they were in that same position, they didn't. And that isn't good enough.
No, it isn't. Get involved in the comments. Forgive me, I'm on my phone because the tablet's died. Andrew Knabel says, we lost to exactly the type of team we struggle against. Simple as, this team has too many holes to win trophies. Back Ole or it's going nowhere. Do you think, Joe, and I'm not going to make excuses here, just a question, like the fact that we do tend to over-rely on the same players. We don't have a squad that some other teams do have. No. How much does that come into it? Because, okay, you can argue that likes of Rashford tonight, Bruno was quiet, Pogba was a bit quiet. It wasn't a great performance by the sort of our danger men. But then you look at it and you think, on the bench, was there anyone who you go, oh, there's a fucking winner for a match winner? You can argue Dan James, but is he really that great? Or, I mean, he's a good player, but, is he someone you go, oh, he's going to win me this European final? Amad Diallo's still a kid. Van der Beek, I just feel like we haven't got that strength in depth, maybe, that comes from sort of lack of investment. There's quite a few super chats. I'll whiz through some of them. Charlie Wheeler-Jones says, awful result. I feel absolutely awful. Just wanted to say a huge thank you to you lads for being there to keep me company throughout the season. Up the fucking Paddock. Much appreciated. Mike Smalling, no Ole out at all. No, absolutely not. We looked toothless in the 90 and tied in the 8 extra time. Great show, guys. Just rubbish. We lost. Peter Salks, people blaming David De Gea. He got us here, remember? Ole knew his pen record. He should have subbed him out already. I mean, people will go with that about the subbing the goalkeeper because Van Gaal did it that one time, but that doesn't happen. Like, you don't sub your goalkeeper. Like, you just don't. Like there's one thing as a one-off. If you pick a goalkeeper, that's your goalkeeper, that's going to see you through to the penalties. He just happens to have an awful record at penalties. I think it's 35 penalties, is it?
Well, it was 25 before tonight.
It's 25 before tonight in a row that he'd faced and not saved. I think you have to go back to Lukaku in the semi-final in 2016.
Yeah,
at Wembley. I mean, that's just Eric Bailly's just whipping off his runners-up medal there. So if you got to penalties, you feared the worst. But we shouldn't have got to penalties. I think that miss from Marcus Rashford's going to haunt him forever. Until he sort of scores an important goal again. That was a bad one. There was a few other chances. There was a chance where Luke Shaw went through and just sort of, I think it was a shot, and it went straight at Cavani's head. When he could have just passed it to him, it probably would have been a goal. I mean, it was just almost a comedy of errors sometimes up front. Naresh Mukunte says, do you think we stopped pressing extra time due to Ole's tactics to draw them in or due to tiredness? Abdullah Ibrahim as well says, we'll get to both of these. The team is tactically naive. When they pressed high, we should have tried to run in behind and go direct. We kept playing out the back and giving the ball away. We're there numbered in us in a half. Do you think it is Ollie's fault here with these tactics? Or do you think the players are knackered? Or do you think it's a bit of both? What do you reckon it is?
I think if the game, obviously, United are a bigger team than Villarreal. We've got better players than Villarreal. But if the 90 minutes had have gone the other way, where they had all the ball, they kept winning the ball in our half like we were doing to them, you could say the same thing the other way around. I think it's easy to say that we were tactically naive when we've lost on penalties, but it wasn't. I mean, obviously, we didn't win the game in normal time or in extra time, so yes, you can blame the tactics for that. But we didn't lose this game because of those tactics. We maybe we didn't win it because of that. Yeah. But we lost this game on penalties, let's not forget. This was a draw. And we didn't sit back for most of the game. I know I mentioned before about after we scored, we kind of sat back a little bit. But for most of the game, we had more possession. We were the one pushing the agenda. We were the one with the ball. We were the one trying to create chances. And yes, in the end, we've lost. But the fucking margins that this game came down to, I think it's hard to say we were just tactically naive and that's the end of that, like we got blown out of the water. This came down to a goalkeeper missing a penalty. Yeah. There aren't any finer margins in sport than what we've just seen today. So I think it's really hard for me to completely criticise the team and say we were shocking, they were amazing, because it took 120 minutes of football and 21 penalties for this game to be finished. So this was a very even game, whichever way you look at it. And obviously we should have done more. We should be the one lifting the trophy, as we see Villarreal lifting that trophy now. That should be Manchester United. But we didn't get battered. I mean, there are a lot of things we can pick holes in, and I'm sure we'll get onto some of those things in a minute. But I think just to sort of rule out all of United's tactics as naive or all of United's tactics as poor, and you say, oh, we're shit. I mean, could it have been any closer? We are one penalty. We're a slip away. We're a firmer David De Gea wrist away from winning this, and we wouldn't have said anything of the sort. So obviously, the who won the trophy is all that matters when, a year, 2 years, I mean, even a week down the line, that's all that matters. But this wasn't like United got blown away in this game by any means, and it could not have been tighter. There were just very small margins that let us down, and some of that just comes down to individual mistakes. Should Lindelof have done better on that cross? Yes. Should Rashford have put that cross in at the other end from Bruno? Yes, he should. Should De Gea have got a better wrist, and a better hand on that penalty? I think it was the fourth or the third penalty they took where he got a good hand onto it and it still went in the back of the net. If any of those things happen, we win that game. And I think there were a lot more things that had to go wrong for United tonight than Villarreal, because they didn't make any chances. They didn't, hold the ball, cut us apart, do anything like that. So it was a horrifically tight game with a horrific ending. But it's such a tight result, that, and it's horrible for United, horrible for us as fans. But I don't think we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say this team is shit because we lost in what is the most fractional decimal point of an angle here. Once football gets down to those final seconds, that we're stretching essentially what the rules are even designed for when you get to goalkeepers taking penalties. So it's difficult for me to completely crucify everything we saw tonight because it couldn't have been tighter.
I'm just going to run through some of these super chats. The disappearance. Sorry, I've screenshot. David De Gea. Chris Lowe says David De Gea hasn't saved a penalty I can remember since the FA Cup final 2016. Knew when it went to pens it was over, but was poor all round. We've both said that. We agree with you. Yep, he's terrible at penalties. It shouldn't have got to that. Penalties is a lottery, innit? Come on, let's have it right. Ryan Salt said it before, but if James ever played how Rashford did tonight, then he would be crucified. Rashford hasn't played well since Christmas either. I think the thing with Rashford is he just gets goals and assists even when he's not playing well. He looks injured. He always looks knackered to me. He needs a rest. He ain't going to get one because I think he'll be in Gareth Southgate's final squad. Nathan Camacho says, inexcusable. We're a laughing stock. I took work off for that. I get you.
I mean, you couldn't have got more excitement for your money, could you?
But yeah, Madaf Malik says, why can't these players turn up when it really matters? People saying Ollie out for not subbing to 90 minutes, but explain why players were so bad. I mean, I'm not going to be Ollie out because he lost the final. I think that's fucking ridiculous. Sammy Yim says, I've never been Ollie in ever since he came in, but after this debacle, he needs to leave. Fabrizio Romano is reporting Zinedine Zidane has left Real Madrid. Let's get a coach who's won the Champions League. John Kennedy as well has given us a super chat. Thanks for that, John.
Real Madrid, Zinedine Zidane has been sacked twice in 2 years.
Listen, Zinedine Zidane isn't going to come here and make Fred amazing. He's not going to come here and just be able to work with only a 34-year-old striker, a teenager, and someone who's got 4 Premier League goals this season. Doesn't matter if you've got Zinedine Zidane or fucking Sir Alex Ferguson in his prime. Unless you back a manager properly, you're just going to have these same problems over and over again. You know, we moved out Andreas Pereira because we were overly reliant on a player that wasn't good enough. And now we've got in a situation where you've got someone like Fred, who, you know, a lot of people criticise, who's playing 50 games this season. But so many people, some people, I thought he did all right tonight-ish, criticising him, again, playing like 40-odd games a season. You look at the teams that we're trying to catch, mainly Man City, they have just quality on their bench, and we haven't got that. I'm sorry, but we haven't. And it's like, yes, you might be. I'm not saying Ollie's the best manager on the planet. There might be better managers than him, and Zinedine Zidane may well be one of them. But is Zinedine Zidane going to come in here and get back properly? Or is he going to come in here and be expected to, you know, sign Alex Telles, Amad Diallo, Edinson Cavani, and Donny van der Beek, and somehow win us the title with that? I just don't think it's happening. Nikhil Prakesh says, I'm not buying this whole De Gea as a keeper, so it's okay for him to miss. They had a keeper too. Look at their keeper's kick, and De Gea's lazy. 350k for a keeper who can't save a penalty. I don't think you can blame him for. You can blame him for missing penalties, not saving him. I don't think you can blame him for not scoring penalties. As well, sorry, just before this disappears. This Big Doss, so this game should never have decided on fine margins. We thought we'd improve massively. We have improved, but not by huge amounts at all. Alex Metcalf, thanks for this season, lads. End of the day, the 120 minutes lost us the game and not the shootout. We're too naive on the pitch and in the dugout. And finally, Villareal never wanted to win the match in regular time. We played 61 matches in the season. That's averages 7 matches a month. We'll be back. Sorry, glory, Man United. And I think... God, they're coming thick and fast. Sorry. Pradal NV says, this should be a wake-up call for United to get quality centre-backs and proper midfield take us to the next level. We could have ended this before 90 minutes. De Gea's not at fault for United's loss. Barcole... non-stop, sorry. Alessio Walud, all I'm saying is a world-class goalkeeper. How can you not get at least 1 of 11 penalties, especially after some players have played 120 minutes? Abe Sheck Pardy says, this team ain't bad, but decent at best. Good teams don't bottle Europa in successive years. Bruno flops in his biggest match, sad all round poor.
Should we come back to some of the super chats?
It's just I can't. Can we get them on the back end? Because I can't. That's my problem.
And we'll come back to a few of them.
All right, I'll just read this last one, then we'll kick on. Ollie's man management is unacceptable at top level. Cost us with Fred versus PSG. We had plenty of chance to take the game with a sub. What did he do? Right, sorry, mate. Go on.
I understand the idea behind that, but I don't understand that our best team tonight, and I think most people would agree that the team that started was our best team. I think it's hard to say that that's Ollie's fault that team didn't win the game. Like, our man for man, our team that played tonight, that 11, is so much better than Villarreal's team that started tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
it is, 100%.
And you know, obviously maybe we could have brought on subs to have won the game in 90 minutes or 120 minutes, but, you know, in the end the subs came on and all those subs scored a penalty. So, in a sense, they did do a job, whether that was, obviously it wasn't the job of winning us the game, but they came on and did something. There's a lot of things that go into it, isn't there? It's really difficult because it's not... Obviously, losing a final hurts more than losing in the first round or whatever. Yeah. Or if we'd have just finished 4th in the group, we'd have forgot about that by now. If we'd have finished 4th in the Champions League, we would have forgotten about it. And we'd have been talking about next season saying, we finished 2nd, that was decent. Look at Liverpool. Their arms around each other's shoulders, jumping up and down at finishing 3rd. Yeah. You know, that's where
do you know what? That's a point, right? If you look at Ajax when we beat them in 2017, look at the Scousers when they lost it in 2016, both lost the Europa League final, both went on to sort of use it as a catalyst almost. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's kick on now. Let's do something about this. Let's start building for the future. Let's start investing. Let's start nurturing these young players or whatever. When we won the Europa in 2017, we didn't kick on from that.
No.
We just we brought in Lukaku and Matic, and I think maybe Lindelof. This following summer, you know, we finished 19 points behind City, and that was it, and lost the FA Cup final. It's not like we actually used it as a platform for progression. And I think this is what this needs to be. It needs to be a bit of a wake-up call, and it also needs to be a sort of a reminder of how far we've got to go. And in that case, we need to strengthen. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I know some of these players will improve. Mason Greenwood's going to get better. Amad Diallo, I like the look of him already. Maybe you can look at someone like a Jimmy Garner next season. He plays a part, whatever. But we need investing. And we need. I know it sounds like an obvious answer, but you can't look at that and go, look at that bench and go, we don't need investments.
No, and I also think it's unfair to say that not winning this means that that's the end of any sort of project or anything like that.
No, is it, fuck?
I mean, if we had have won this, be honest, and even the people who think that Ole isn't the right manager for Man United, if we'd have won this game tonight, would that have been enough to change your mind? Because it wouldn't. Winning the Europa League wouldn't have changed anyone's mind on the manager, wouldn't have changed anyone's mind on the players. You would have gone, well, it's only the Europa League, who cares? So then losing it shouldn't be the end of that either. You shouldn't then go, well, if we can't win the Europa League, I mean, the Europa League is the pinnacle of football, and that's what we're all here for. So if we haven't won that, what's the point? It shouldn't do either of those things. It's obviously crushing and devastating tonight. Of course it is. But on the other hand, if we'd have won, it would have been elation, it would have been brilliant. But in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, the focus is on winning the league next season, is on winning the Champions League next season. The start of any season for Manchester United isn't, what's the dream, win the Europa League. So, of course, it's devastating tonight. And the way it happened as well, it can't be more edge of the knife, edge of the seat stuff. It doesn't get more heartbreaking than how it happened. But the Europa League isn't the end goal for Manchester United. And the fact that we're moving closer to what is the end goal, which is winning the Premier League, winning the Champions League, consistently being a Champions League team, which, yes, that isn't, Sir Alex, under Sir Alex Ferguson, we took that for granted. But we can't take that for granted anymore. We have finished top 4 in consecutive years for the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson left. So there is progress. We are moving in the right direction. Tonight is an absolute horrible, horrible feeling because of the way it happened, the excruciating, never-ending torture of that penalty shootout makes this as bad as it gets. But again, the Europa League wasn't the marker of whether Manchester United are back. That is the Premier League, the Champions League, and combining those two tournaments with the FA Cup or the League Cup. This isn't the be-all and end-all, but it is horrible right now.
Yeah, I agree. It feels fucking sick. Joe P said 2 shots on target is embarrassing. Our bench had nothing inspiring to bring on. Shows the investment we need. Never had faith in De Gea on pens. I agree. Yeah. Michael Momo, you guys are making excuses for Ole. Why spend 60 million on Van der Beek and Traore? He was a coward in extra time. Giroud, I'm not making excuses for Ole. I think Ole got his tactics wrong tonight. I think we should have made changes earlier. And I think Mason I know people. I think it was you that saying it about Dan James scoring his penalty, but I think bringing on Mason Greenwood all the time, it just baffles me because I think he's the type of player that can get you a goal even from nothing, and he just seems to be always the one that gets the curly finger. Giroud O'Neill says time for a proper rebuild. None of this 3 in out bench full of 18-year-olds or 33-year-olds. Yes. No wonder Ollie doesn't make subs. That makes more sense to me. Max Ketley says might spend the rest of my life trying to figure out why Fred went on for Greenwood. Stefan Johan Jonstedt said, should have battered them today, no excuse. If you have a goalie that hasn't saved a pen in 5 years, you change goalie. It's disgrace today. Good season.
Can we talk a bit about De Gea? I know we've got the super chats there, but we can
No,
come
it's
back
alright. It's just, I don't like, yeah. Go on.
How can a professional goalkeeper who is, it's not like he's like, he's famed for his kicking or his passing ability. He is famed for his shot stopping, his reactions, getting into the corners that no other goalkeeper can get. Famously the free kick against Juan Mata, the ones against Everton, the ones against Arsenal. He is known for being as elastic and expressive and quick as any goalkeeper that there's ever been, David De Gea. How can he be so bad at saving penalties? And before anyone says, well, it's not his fault, I'm not blaming him for losing tonight, but you have to look at every section of the game. So there was the 90 minutes, which he didn't do bad in at all. There was the 30 minutes extra time, which he didn't do bad in, and then there's the penalty shootout. We've talked about the rest. Let's move on to the penalty shootout. How can he be that bad?
I might be right. This is going to get fucking penalties, but even for their goal, I just thought he seems to just watch it go in.
I think what happened is
it's like he went like that.
But the player took the shot late, and after the ball comes off Moreno's foot, he has to work out which direction is it going. And at what speed is it going? The ball bounces into the floor and it's going weirdly slow. He kind of half scuffs it. And I think as he's trying to work out where it is, he's falling and he can't quite react quick enough. Okay. I think, on another day, goalie would have saved it. But I reckon if Moreno would have hit that better, he might have had a better chance of saving it because he spends 3/4 of the time
in that
working out where it is.
I'm not blaming David. I'm more angry with Victor Lindelof.
And it was also a perfect cross.
Than I'm with David. I just thought when I watched it back, I thought maybe he could have done a bit better. It's obviously a massive flaw in his game.
Penalties, yeah.
He just cannot save penalties. And I think, for me, when you're that good at shot stopping and you've got that much athleticism, just let him. I think if you'd try and judge it after they've shot, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
Because some of them shots were if he'd have stayed on his feet,
Yeah.
They're at him, but he goes too early.
Well, Carlos Hernandez here is just with a chat. He says De Gea always looks like he's guessing honestly. The mad thing about that is, if it was purely down to guesswork, toss of a coin, it would be statistically almost impossible for him to concede 35 penalties in a row.
Yeah.
If you're at home flipping a coin, flip it, left or right. If you hit heads 35 times in a row, the chances of that are incredibly slim.
Yeah.
Right? So he's actually worse than random.
Yeah.
Because even if it was random, he would have saved one. So he's obviously either physically weak when it comes to the ball, when going the right way. He doesn't get enough of a hand on it. He maybe perhaps struggles to read the direction of the ball, struggles to read the distance the ball is traveling. He reads the speed of the ball wrong. He also must give attackers, give his movement away to the attackers. Because if it was purely down to flipping a coin, left or right, he would have saved 1 in 35.
Yeah.
It's like he's worse than random at saving penalties. And that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It's only like a 0.7 chance that a penalty goes in. I think it's 0.7.
Yeah, 7 out of 10.
So 7 out of 10. So
Yeah.
in 35, theoretically, at least 9 should have missed. Right? At least.
Yeah.
And none have missed. That is incredible. That is a goalkeeper that is objectively bad at saving penalties.
Yeah.
It's not just he's guessing.
You know what's
wrong.
crazy about that as
Because
well?
if he guessed, he would have saved one.
What's crazy about that is, out of 35 penalties, no one's even missed the target. That's just like...
Absolutely insane.
No one's hit like the bar or just scuffed it or whatever. It's like, it's so strange.
Yep.
And read that Paul Scholes quote, because... yeah, it feels like something I've said this in the past.
He said, you're playing Villarreal here. You're playing a team that finished 7th in a really poor La Liga. Man United should win this game comfortably.
I was doing a bit of TV today, and I think that I said almost like verbatim.
Yeah.
Apart from the really poor La Liga bit. There's so many super chats. I'm going to try and get through some because I don't like to see people sort of put in a super chat and not,
No, of course.
not getting it. Sorry, I'm just trying to find out to where we are. Hajik's Pizza says, we move on, lads. Glory Man United. Progress was still made. Time for a break. See you all next season. See you later on as well. Alex Hosseson, sorry, says, I believe our subs have been class. I believe our subs have class, but work better in different formation. They can't come in the 4-2-3-1. Sellers works best in a 5-3-1, for example. Okay, I think that should be 5-3-2, shouldn't it? Joe Gibbons says, the loss hurt a lot tonight. Right now, but the worst part is that we have to wait another year to care about a single game this much. I agree. Ajmal Kosman says we need to buy more players. Thanks, Joe and Jay, for being so calm and not reactionary. I've had times. I can get sort of calm myself and then have my angst on the way home on my own.
Yeah.
Sam Stevenson says if Pogba stays and all he gets his signings and we don't challenge for league till the final day, win a trophy, then his time may be up.
We need to come back to that about the signings thing in a minute.
Okay. Hashtag Ollie in for now. It's an interesting one. Charlie Smith, thanks for your super chat. Sean Turner, Ollie just showed his naivety tonight. Can't make big decisions in big moments. Rashford was a disgrace tonight. Should have been subbed. I love Marcus Rashford. What?
No, it won't.
Oh, yeah. I love Marcus Rashford, but it was one of his worst games I've ever seen tonight. And it pains me to say that because I love the guy.
Yeah, it was terrible.
But I'm not going to pretend that was a good performance by Marcus Rashford because it wasn't. Alessio Walloed in that... that vein says Rashford was stinking out the stadium. He's been running to that end so much recently. Some of the lads need to be more composed on the ball. JS Gray, the moment the goalie put it top bins, you knew. Burns sidekick, can't give Rashford a pass for that. I'm a big fan of his, but he was shocking today. He'll know it as well. Thought Bailly was excellent. Jerry O'Neill, De Gea's first step out is too close to his standing position, so he has to leap further and less likely to save. Simple. Comparing some of the keepers, their first step is a yard further. Nathan Camacho, Joe, if we won, I would have had more belief in Ollie, but since we lost, it makes me think we'll never win anything under him. Thanks for being positive, though. Irish Messi, how many signings do we need to make this summer? These are just absolutely just relentless. Ryan Weston, I've never been Ollie out, but I think don't think he's a trophy winner. 5 semis, 1 final, no trophies. It can't be the players every time. Stefan Johan Jonstead, remember Krulling it's in the World Cup actually, yeah. Changed just to take a pen. Either Grant or Hendo would have been better.
Yes.
SK Blitz, Manchester United will never win anything as Ollie as our manager. Best we move on from this Ollie Wankfest and get a proper manager.
Like who? Who should we get? Who's available? Reply again. Have to be a super chat. Writing again.
SK
Who
Bliss.
should United get?
I'll try and look out for you.
Better than Solskjaer that we can get. For instance, Pochettino, who didn't
Fuck
win a
off.
trophy
Fuck
with
off.
the only team in France. It's not like they've got the best team in France. PSG are the only team in France. He was the one that everyone would have picked 18 months ago to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And now, no one would pick him because he's proven himself to be a bigger bottle job than anyone that we've ever had as a manager.
Right.
Who would we have?
The popular choice here is Antonio Conte.
Well, he is now because he's just fucking left Inter Milan. But no one would have had him 2 years ago either.
Jeremy Brake says, De Gea is a reactionary keeper, not a positional one. He does much better when he doesn't think about when the shot is going. Ross Muir says, hope this last failure means big squad reshaping. Tribosh, thanks for your super chat. Tony McGuigan says, who's that mug on about Dave missing a penno? Keep the red flag flying high. Thanks, Paddock Lags being class. Watch-alongs have made not being able to watch the games with my mates more bearable. Appreciate that. That's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Juan Martinez, which is a great name, says Dave sat on his line for the goal and gave so much space to shoot. One step out towards the ball to cut down the angle like Hendo does makes a difference. Sorry?
Go on.
Benji Radebe says definitely Ollie out for me. We won't win anything with him. Mikel Henryson says, okay, lads, let's talk about our big faults in defence this season. We need to sell Lindelof and De Gea. Well, that's all. Your opinions on those two? Go on, I'll have a pause there while we answer that question and I'll move on. How the fuck am I seeing Francis Coquelin
I know.
celebrating beating us in a European final? Fuck off.
Lindelof is a decent centre-back who, alongside Harry Maguire, make a decent centre-back partnership. By himself or as the leader, he's not. We all know he's not a top centre-back. We know that. He's not one of the best centre-backs in the world. No one would ever try and tell you he is. I think he's a decent centre-back that alongside the right person could be great, but maybe, we do seem to struggle when he's in there as the main man. There's a lot of problems tonight. There's a lot of things you can go through, and obviously if you're comparing like for like, it's easy to say, well, United had more shots than them. United had more shots to target than them. It wasn't many. We had 2, but they only had 1. So it wasn't like we got battered tonight. This was a very close game. But like someone said before, at some point, 4 semi-finals in a row that we lost, and then a final. That is a worry, and we can't pretend it isn't. But at the same time, people talking about Allegri and Zidane and Conte. Conte is a very good manager, but things broke down with him at Chelsea, things broke down with him at Inter, and you can't necessarily blame him for all of those things. But, again, 2 years ago, I don't think many people would have wanted him at Man United. Allegri is another one who's been out of a job for a year, whatever it's been, who plays incredibly defensive football that is very boring to watch unless you're winning trophies. And with the way that these owners and this management above Solskjaer invest in the squad, 18 months of Allegri managing this team could be about as bad as anything you've ever seen. Because if we play with this team and try and win the Allegri way, I think that could be really difficult to watch, and I don't think we'd do much better than we have at the minute. And Zidane, he's won 3 Champions League, so it's hard to criticise him, but he's not been great unless he's had Ronaldo. I know they won the league last season, but it's a very different Spain than it was 5 or 6 years ago, so he doesn't fill me with much confidence either. And again, Pochettino was the main man 18 months ago. Anyone who was a Man United fan who didn't like Ole would have said Poch is the man. Poch in. Not one person wants Pochettino now. It's very easy to point to the person that has most recently done well and say they'll fix it. People were saying Ancelotti 10 months ago when Everton started well. Everton have got a better manager than United. Why haven't we got Ancelotti? They finish lower than they normally do with David Moyes or with Martinez, whoever it may be. He's not the name anymore. You've got to be very careful who you replace managers with, because if you just pick the most recent manager that won a league somewhere in Europe, you can easily end up doing fuck all. And Arsenal have proven that, and it's not easy to do things like that. And we've proven that as well with Jose Mourinho and with Louis van Gaal. You can easily just pick the best name that's available right now, but if that's not the right man, you spend years in the doldrums, and we are seeing that as Manchester United fans now.
I agree with all that. I'm not up for changing the manager. I know it's going to be Conte now that everyone's going to fucking rave about, because it was Pochettino. He's flopped, and don't give me that. He's won 2 trophies at PSG. if you don't win a league at PSG, you don't fucking even do that well in the Champions League. I know he got to the semis in it, but he didn't, City battered him. Then that's not success. I think they were 1 point behind when he got there. He might have had a game in, and I can't be sure. 1 point behind the leaders anyway, and he finished a point behind the leaders. That's not a success.
No.
Let's not fucking pretend on that one. So yeah, I think it is going to be. There's going to be now this thing where every time next season Ollie has a bad result, you're going to just hear the fucking Conte in chance, or not chance, the post. So I'm going to go through some chats and then wrap it up because we've got the fan cams to come and all that sort of stuff because I'm conscious of the time. Benji Radabi says, definitely Ollie out for me, won't win with him. Mikhail Henderson says, okay, lads, I've answered these. Tribosh says, can't blame David De Gea there. Penalties with top bins. We should have won in 90 minutes. Ollie had none, had to sub in. Shows how bad our benches need to strengthen. Ollie in. Sudeep Dutta says, what we should do now, what do we do about Lindelof? Pogba was pathetic. Rashford is not serious enough. Recito Morel says, I'm so angry, Jay. I feel your pain, bro. Fergus Mohammed, Pau Torres, get him. I wouldn't mind him after look quite good tonight. Jamie Johnson says, we move on. It's been an awful night, though. Can bounce back with Ollie after this. I hope we can, but I'm not really sure. Rashford should have scored. I agree that Rashford should have scored. I still believe in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Emmanuel Onua says, what's the difference between Mourinho, 3 trophies, and Ollie 0? Ollie will be exposed for the end of the season next season. Poch is absolutely better. No matter what you say, well, no matter what I say, there's no point in me saying it. Vikal Palom says, I really love Ollie, want him to succeed, but will accept him being sacked because of his lack of subs. Cost us too many games this season because of subs. AK says, we took the game to them. Penalties are 50-50 always. If this was our best team, not good enough. Where's the checkbook, Mr. Glazer? Meb3 says, no point dwelling on tonight. The real disappointment will come when the transfer window closes and those signings we hoped for didn't materialise.
Exactly right. Let's talk briefly about that before we finish.
Yeah, because I just want to wrap up.
Yeah, of course.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
But go on.
Is that the end of the super?
Oh no, sorry. Tom Inman says can't wait to get Tom Eaton in the summer and the Glazers pocket the CL money. Just can't see this team being improved to the level it needs. Josh UFO says Maximiliano Allegri. I'm with Joe on that one. I think it's Van Almark too, but more boring. Skin07 says love watching Ollie's team this season. Win, lose or draw. Next season we go again. Better and stronger. Trophies aren't everything for me as a fan. Vinay Nivnavti says this isn't the end of the world. Let's move on and have a good window. We're just going to quickly talk about transfers and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, and I like that we can end on those 2 super chats there because that I agree with that. Like you said at the start, Jay, the best teams in the world don't play Fred. The best teams in the world don't play, let's be honest, Eric Bailly or Victor Lindelof. They don't play probably McTominay. They have options off the bench.
You can like a player and admit that they would not get into City's team or maybe even Chelsea's team and maybe even the Scousers when everyone's fit. And that's not good enough for me.
No. And let's be objective about those players. Like I've said a few of those names there. We can talk about that. We need more options other than Marcus Rashford because in games like tonight, we need a viable option off the bench because he was shocking tonight and we all love Marcus Rashford. We don't need to defend that. He was very poor tonight. We need someone that isn't an 18-year-old or a £15 million player from Swansea. We need another option that can come on and do, look at Diego Jota at Liverpool. We don't have anyone of that quality on the bench. And I know that obviously they haven't had the great season this year, but we've seen what they've done in the last few years. If United are going to win anything, and if we're going to win things consistently, we need a better squad than the one we have now. And it's as simple as that. And tonight, you can put it on the manager, you can put it on the players, fine. But if you honestly think that this squad is capable of winning Champions leagues, back-to-back, like we used to, I think you're delusional. I think we all know deep down we need to invest more than anything else. We need better players because it's very rare that the team with the best players and the best squad don't win the league.
No.
We've seen that. Leicester was an outlier. But other than that, if you have the best team, you probably win the league. Or you're second, like City have been for the last 10 years. So it's going to be very difficult. But I think if we're ever going to win things and win things consistently, we need better players. And we can't have a pre-season, like we did last season, where we bring in one first-team player in Edinson Cavani. That's what we brought in. And I don't think anyone in their right mind would say that Tellez, that Van der Beek, that Pellistri or Diallo should be playing first team based on what we've seen from any of them. There's a lot of promise there, but we know that Cavani's the only one that's forced his way into this team, and we needed more than one new player.
I agree. We needed more than one new player, and we still need more than one new player. And we need investment. We need to dust ourselves off. It feels shit losing a European final. It's not anything you'll ever get used to, and it's not anything I want to see again. And it's sad that the last, time we lost the European final, it was to Barcelona in the Champions League, whilst also winning the league. And now we're here fucking watching United lose to Villareal in the Europa League with Chelsea versus fucking City still to come in the Champions League, which is going to be like eating glass. But hopefully in the summer we'll strengthen, and next season we'll win the treble. That's been Joe Smith. You know where to find him, Joe Smith 93. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you. I'll just read these last two super chats. Nozadin says, thank you for setting words to how I feel now. Emmanuel Anua says, why can't you hold Ollie accountable with a better squad than Villarreal than they beat both Arsenal and us? Please tell me who you'll take from Villarreal. Pau Torres, and we do hold Ollie accountable, but he also needs strengthening his squad, as Joe said. It's not mutually exclusive. Thanks for all your support, not just tonight, but over the course of the season. You've been fantastic. Honestly, can't thank you enough. We are going to be going on throughout the summer. We're going to be on throughout the rest of this week. We've got the news tomorrow, and then obviously we'll be doing podcasts and all the rest of that stuff, transfer stuff, transfer live, Euros coverage. So you'll have loads more content coming up on the channel regularly, and we're going to have some new member stuff coming up next week as well. So make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe. I've been Jay Motti. That's been Joe Smith. This has been Stretford Paddock live review. Listen, it's shit, yeah, but things will get better. Yeah?
Probably.
Hopefully. Thanks for watching.